Hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Turab. I'm a first-year CAP student from Pakistan, and I will be talking about how evidence-based policies are designed in a developing country with STAPHORISMS, which are basically fun facts about myself and my country, as I had to go to 20 slides. So this is a picture from my hometown in Lahore, and I will come back to it later. So why did I choose public policy? I guess that 6 months at Harris, we would realize that public policy is not as easy as this picture tells us. So why did I choose to study public policy? Well, it starts all back in 2005 in the US, when I attended this amazing Seeds of Peace International Conflict Resolution Camp, which basically brings teenagers every year from different conflict-ridden regions like Pakistan, India, Palestine, Israel, for a summer camp in which we get to meet the enemy. So this experience led me to do something better with my life. And one of the things that I will be talking about through my presentation is STAPHORISMS, like this statement by Bill Clinton, and this is me having good time with Indians. No point for guessing where I am over here in India. So I wanted to do something good with my life. I was a science student throughout my life, and somehow someone told me that in order to save the world, I needed to study economics. As this picture will tell you that I don't know whether economists can save the world, and we are standing on the cusp of the second financial breakdown, but they are good at marketing. I would give them that. So I started my undergrad as an econ major. This is my undergrad university. This is the social sciences school and the mandatory cricket field in the background as well. So I did my undergrad in economics, and this brings us to the next aphorism. And my undergrad experience was very typical of what an undergrad experience is in the US. This is not how we usually dress up to our university, but this is part of what we call the seniors week, in which the seniors can do crazy stuff, and we actually do all of this. So I did that, I completed my undergrad, and then came the real world. So I realized that I have the skills, like I know the theory behind what to do in public policy, but I didn't have any practical experience. So what I did was that I joined an academic research center called Center for Economic Research in Pakistan, which basically organized randomized control trials on a large scale in the country. And what they did was that they collaborated with the government and some leading experts in the field of public policy from institutions like Harvard, MIT, and University of Chicago. So I got a chance to work with all of these amazing people, and I will be talking about one of the projects that I worked on, and that was the property tax project. So any policy project that starts on a massive scale, what we need to do is deal with the government first. And what I realized that is that in order to pass a small thing, you have to go through 10 different departments and like 5 different ministries. But at the end of the day, once you take that first step, it's not that actually very difficult. So what was the property tax experiment? So in Pakistan, what we have are called tax circles, which are just an administrative unit. One city will have multiple tax circles. Bigger the city, more the tax circle. And one tax circle is governed by one tax inspector, who decides how much tax these houses are going to pay. So the tax inspector has a lot of power because of the variability in houses, and he decides how much tax it is going to be. So how we overcame this problem? So we had this 2-stage randomization, which is like a standard in all the real-world randomization projects. You randomize first at the level of your analysis unit, and then once you decided that this unit is going to get the treatment, which treatment you have. In our case, the treatment was the more revenue that the tax collector is going to bring, the more he is going to get back. So I was working with this cool, fancy people and experimental design, but the reality is that I was working with this. I was working with this data. This is the type of data that you get, and what you do is that it gives you a lot of flexibility in what you want to do it. So what I did was I turned this data into these amazing graphs. So these are all different tax circles in Lahore, and what you can see is that this and this and this is the same circle. It's just that you would assume they should be next to each other, but that's not how things work in the real world. So I worked on this project for 2 years. This was a huge project with a research budget in millions of dollars, and the government paid more than $100 million to the tax inspectors. But at the same time, I realized that as a project, it might have been very successful, but whether that project changed into a policy, that's a completely separate ballgame. So I moved from the research side to consulting. This is not a problem with slide. This is actually about public sector consultancy no one knows. In that sense, it gives you a lot of flexibility in what you want to do when you're working as a public sector consultant. So I was hired by the mayor of the city of Bhavalpur. So that's a small city in the southern Punjab. It's a very old city. This is Fort Turab, which is right outside the city. And it has one of the worst indicators in the health side and one of the highest infant and maternal mortality rates in the country. So I worked on the health department. And what I was able to do in 6 months that use that data and convert that register into this good online system. And what we were able to do that in only 10 months, we were able to register 10,000 women and 8,000 newborn childs, and then the government can actually track their progress through the entire thing. And what were my learnings? Well, policy change is a slow process. And like many times when you're working with the government, you would see that overhauling the entire system is the best option, but actually it's all about how you can leverage the current system to what you want to achieve. That's the best option that you can do. Lastly, I would like to end with this picture of my city again, Lahore, and compare this picture with the first picture and this statement by Obama. Like Pakistan does have a lot of problems, but I believe that on the average we are doing pretty good. At the moment, I am not sure. Any other questions?
For how many years did it do?
I was working as a consultant for 1 year, and in the other job I was working for 2 years, 3 years.